Well, she was murdered.
Right.
Do you have any involvement in that?
Yes, sir, I did.
By maintaining a calm, measured approach, they entrap him in the specifics of his story. Criminal psychology reveals that suspects often provide too many details in their interrogations, trying to rationalize their actions, and the more they talk, the more their contradictions are exposed. By guiding him through each element of the incident, where the shooting occurred, his position, and Camille's actions, the detectives set a trap where Ramirez's inconsistencies will later come back to haunt him.
Yeah. You pulled the trigger.
You shot her?
Yeah.
But the pertinent questions are, who is this man? What happened on March the 20th, and how detectives psychologically trap him with a perfect bait.
1 minute she'll be there, and then the next fucking she'll just be split gone.
That doesn't sound like a normal person.
Exactly.
Welcome back to my channel. I don't have many followers, but your single comment is a ray of hope for me.
So 911 emergency.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I just found a dead body in my trash can.
On March 20th, 911 received a call reporting the discovery of a woman's body in a dumpster on the 1000 block of Cactus Lane, north of San Angelo, Texas.
I saw a blue tub in my trash can, and I said, why would my wife throw a tub away? I was looking for my tax information. I pulled it back, and I saw a dead woman in there. I don't know who it is. I ran away as soon as I saw it.
Okay, we have the ambulance and we have officers on their way over there, okay? If you could just stay in the area and flag them down, okay?
Okay, I don't have to see it again, do I?
No, you do not. Just go somewhere over to the side and wait for the officer, okay?
Okay.
Upon arriving at the crime scene, the police worked tirelessly to identify the body, eventually confirming it was that of 24-year-old mother, Camille Garcia.
This is one of the missing females. The other one's blonde.
I didn't see her. You might show Andy, because I didn't see the body at all.
This is the Facebook photo of the first missing person that was reported.
It went away. That hair's kind of light, but
It's light complected Hispanic.
Yeah,
Hair color means nothing to a female.
what did you say?
We probably do need to break the tape.
That's what I was
Mexican or Oriental? Hispanic, light complected.
The following day, March 21st, the investigation took a significant turn. A routine traffic stop for an illegal turn led to the arrest of 27-year-old Andres Ramirez. What seemed like a simple violation turned into the discovery of an unregistered firearm, and ultimately, a murder confession. However, today, we will focus on the psychological dynamics of the interrogation that followed.
I introduced myself earlier as Sergeant Allwine with the Sheriff's Office.
Sergeant Corey Speck. What's your name?
Andres.
Andres? Okay. Nice to meet you, man.
Andrew.
Andrew?
Yes,
Okay.
Hey, that's my name.
Is that your name?
That is my name.
We're good. No, we're good. Shut the door? Yeah, shut the door, please.
So, Andrew, you got stopped today and said that there was a weapon in your vehicle.
Yes, sir. I admitted when there was
Right on.
arrests.
In this initial phase, the detectives deliberately withhold information from Ramirez. They tell him he's only being charged with possession of a firearm, not mentioning the murder. This tactic introduces cognitive dissonance, Ramirez's internal conflict between his understanding of a situation, a minor charge, and the reality that he is likely connected to something far more serious. The detective's withholding of information creates uncertainty in Ramirez's mind, and he is left to fill in the blanks himself, which can lead to inconsistent statements. The foot-in-the-door technique is also in play here, starting with a simple, non-threatening charge, firearm possession, before moving to the bigger charge, murder.
So what did you want to speak with me about when we were out there on the scene? Said you wanted to speak with who was in charge. Well, that's Sergeant Speck and I.
Yeah, man, I was, kind of weird how these numbers, they say the numbers don't lie, right?
Sometimes.
What else don't lie?
I don't know.
Say real lies. Real lies, real lies, real lies.
Okay. realize.
Did you catch that?
No, I did not. You're going to have to explain that to me.
Realize.
Realize?
Realize.
Realize?
Realize.
Mm-hmm.
Realize.
Realize, okay.
So tell me what you're getting at, man.
So they say the numbers don't lie,
Mm-hmm.
or do they?
When Ramirez begins speaking cryptically, referring to real lies and numbers don't lie, he is engaging in deflection. This is a common tactic used by suspects trying to avoid direct questions. The detectives don't engage with these vague statements, but instead acknowledge them without further pursuit. This can be seen as the Miranda effect, where the suspect tries to speak in a way that might set the stage for a potential mental illness or instability defense, thus avoiding personal responsibility. The detectives continue to use patient redirection, a tactic where they don't react emotionally or get involved in the word salad, but instead stay calm, redirecting the conversation back to tangible facts. This causes a psychological power shift, where Ramirez loses control over the narrative.
And you're talking on another level that I don't understand right now.
Exactly. So let's just say how everything works, man. I've been in and out of things, I can't say like too much of what, but it seems like, I guess maybe my county, my city is calling me in some which way, and even more than that, it's like, I've been through some things, man, and I've seen some things that, you probably wouldn't even probably cope to, or,
I've been doing this a while.
Not living it, though, is what I'm saying.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
In this part, Ramirez continues to talk in circles, trying to discuss philosophy and vague ideas. However, the detectives demonstrate self-restraint and patience, two powerful psychological tools. By not following Ramirez down the philosophical rabbit hole, the detectives maintain control of the interrogation. They employ behavioral anchoring, staying focused on the core questions, thus preventing Ramirez from controlling the direction of the conversation. Psychologically, this reinforces the idea that the detectives are the authority and that his evasive tactics won't derail the investigation. The detective's ability to stay calm creates an atmosphere of unpredictability for Ramirez, making him more likely to let his guard down later.
Why don't we start off with the traffic stop? Why don't we start there? So where were you heading to when they stopped you?
I was headed to the store.
The store?
Yes, sir.
What's up at the store? You need something to drink, something to eat?
I
What's
was gonna
going on?
grab a pack of cigarettes, man, and give my brother some change and shit, man. Just, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Putting up with his bullshit, man. You wouldn't even understand, man. He's kind of, a little lost there, man. But shit, I ain't ever forget. You know what I mean? I love him. I love him to death, man. It's crazy.
Okay. What about the gun? Why do you have that gun with you?
Make a long story short, it was given to me as a gift, And
The detectives begin to bring up the gun again, asking Ramirez to justify why he has an unregistered firearm. Ramirez tries to justify it by claiming it was a gift and that he never intended to use it. This is a classic rationalization tactic, where the suspect attempts to make their actions seem more acceptable. The detective's subtle confrontation here, by staying calm and asking pointed questions, puts psychological pressure on Ramirez, making him feel like he's running out of justifications. This is an example of cognitive reframing, where the detectives reframe the narrative and emphasize the seriousness of the firearm charge. The intent is to wear down the suspect's defenses and push them toward admitting something they might have been withholding.
I mean, I've had it, I've never took anything with it, or, I never planned on it, ever using it or anything like that, but I've kept it home, like with me for some, and I knew from the beginning, like, and it was like, man, I had it and it was given to me, and like, I didn't want to give it to anybody like that, and the person that had given it to, or had given it to me, for some reason there was something, that I had it, man, and I mean, shit, I appreciate it. I've had it, and how would I say?
You seem a little nervous today, man. Just a little bit. You're a little high-strung.
I mean, nervous, yeah, I guess it would all intake how you could take control of, I guess, the scene, or you know what I mean. Had a, I guess you would say vibe, man. You know.
Well, I'm getting that
Right.
vibe from you that you got some anxiety going
You
on.
see what I mean?
Here, the detectives continue to ask Ramirez about his life, subtly encouraging him to talk about his experiences. They build a rapport by acknowledging his emotions and listening to him, but they maintain the control by not indulging in irrelevant topics. The detective's calm demeanor contrasts with Ramirez's growing unease. This is an example of rapport building used to make the suspect feel comfortable enough to reveal key information. The foot in the door technique is furthered here by moving from a vague justification, the gun, to questioning him about the murder, which begins to crack his earlier narrative. Ramirez is gradually led into a position where he feels that confessing is the only way to resolve the psychological tension created by the interrogation.
We gotta have a little more than that, man. You gotta have a little more recent time frame as far as what you wanted to speak about rather than your whole life and being watched. You want to talk about something, I want to talk too.
So, let's say whatever you got going, or I don't know. Evidently, you know something because of what I've seen. Like, you know, this didn't happen like that. It's no regular traffic stop. One.
Okay. Now you're making sense.
Right. I see.
So let's keep making sense.
I see. I can read. I see all, like, you know. I know the difference between.
Well, tell me why you think we're here like this, and why you think the traffic stop went down like that.
I think maybe y'all have something to do with something that happened, as in maybe even somebody being killed.
As Ramirez begins to show signs of understanding that the investigation isn't just about the firearm, the detectives subtly recognize the psychological pressure building. They acknowledge Ramirez's anxiety and nervousness, which serve to make him more self-aware and possibly more vulnerable. Defensive mechanisms like rationalization and denial are still active in Ramirez, and the detectives use empathic confrontation here, recognizing his anxiety but not letting it detract from the focus of the investigation. They also employ the contrast principle, where they ask questions that subtly confront his narrative, testing his readiness to reveal the truth about Camille's murder.
I'd say you're probably right on track. I'd say that's the most intelligent thing you've said since we walked in. You were right on.
You could have been, you know what I mean, that from the beginning, like, you know what I mean, you had to even cause your scene and all like this. Yeah, I don't, you know.
Are you familiar with what we're trying to look into?
Yeah, possibly very familiar, or at some type of
Let's talk about
vision,
it.
yeah.
Let's get it out there. Tell me about your vision. Tell me about what you think we're here for. Why you think we need to talk about it.
I think maybe y'all are trying to investigate something that happened to somebody, you know what I mean? And somehow, I guess maybe I have a tie to her, or is in, you know what I mean? So,
who's that somebody?
By this point, the detectives begin to clearly press Ramirez on his connection to the murder. They are moving from a mild inquiry into a full-blown psychological attack, questioning his relationship with Camille and pushing him toward the confession. This is an example of psychological escalation, where the tension of the interrogation is ratcheted up. The detectives continue to use strategic silence, a technique where they leave pauses to make Ramirez uncomfortable and force him to fill the silence. They keep him off balance, encouraging him to reveal more details, all while making him feel like the only way to reduce his anxiety is to confess.
I guess C-Dog, that's
C-Dog?
Yeah.
C-Dog, Cash, Cammy, something like that.
That's the thing, though, man. I've never, you know what I mean? There's a, you know what I mean? I guess a dude that she's with or something, you know, supposedly that, you know. I don't know, man. She's with everybody, it seems like, you know what I mean? Matter of fact, right down the road is one of the main parts where she comes from where I stay. My brother, right down the street from right there, man. The corner, you can't miss it, you know. They're always right there. You know, that's from where I know her from, where I seen her walk to and things like that.
Ramirez tries to downplay his relationship with Camille, describing her as a casual acquaintance. From a criminal psychology perspective, this is a common defense mechanism. The suspect minimizes their involvement to avoid responsibility. However, the detectives already have information contradicting his claims, notably from his brother. They don't immediately confront him with this, knowing that doing so would prompt resistance and denial. Instead, the detectives bait him by allowing him to continue speaking, knowing that with each word, he's setting himself up for later contradictions. By allowing Ramirez to create a false narrative, the detectives position themselves to confront him with those lies later, slowly weakening his credibility.
What do you think happened to Cammy? What do you want to tell me about it?
As far as
I can see and hear things that in your speech that you want to talk about it.
Right. I mean, as far as I know, man, I don't know, you know what I mean, anything about the girl or anything like that, but let's just say that from what I know of her, like, it's never been like something normal or anything like that. Like, I don't know how to put it to you, or I don't know how to explain to you. Like, but the times that she's come around, like, you know how I met her, I don't even like really know her. You know what I mean? She's my brother's friends. You know what I mean?
The detectives already know about Ramirez's past involvement with Camille, thanks to a conversation with his brother. But instead of directly confronting him with this information, they continue pressing him on his relationship with Camille, showing psychological control by making him repeat details he's unsure about. This tactic of cognitive dissonance forces Ramirez to reconcile his fabricated story with the truth, making him increasingly nervous and more likely to slip up. It also exposes the psychological pressure of keeping a lie straight under interrogation.
What's your relationship with her?
They don't really have one.
No?
No, sir. I can't say that I ain't ever, you know, had sexual intercourse with her, like, you know what I mean, and things like that, but yeah, shit.
When's the last time?
Fuck, I don't know, about a long time ago.
Really? Because you just told me you hadn't known her that long.
That's what I'm saying, like, I haven't known her, you know, weeks, you know.
So when did you last have sex with her?
Shit. I would say months ago, probably.
In this portion of the interrogation, the detectives begin pressing Ramirez about the specifics of his interactions with Camille. They repeatedly ask about the timeline and details of their relationship, not directly confronting him about the contradictions, but creating a psychological environment where his answers are under constant scrutiny. This repeated questioning breaks down his confidence, forcing him to commit to one version of events. The psychological trap here is simple. The more the detectives ask, the more inconsistencies Ramirez has to maintain, and the more difficult it becomes for him to keep his story straight. Criminal psychologists recognize that this approach exploits the suspect's cognitive load. He's being forced to juggle lies, and the cognitive strain increases his vulnerability.
Want to know your relationship with her? We want to know how long you've known her. You want to start there? We've kind of gone over it just a little bit. I'd like to rehash it with you. How long you've known Cammy?
I haven't known her that long. Or at least as in, like, talking to her, you know, that doesn't, I can't, how to say, brief who she is or anything like that. I can't really do.
Yeah, man, I'm not asking for a psychological analysis.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man. I wish I could give you all that, like, you know what I mean?
No, man, I don't need that. All I need is, how long have you known her? You give me a time frame about how long first time you spoke to her till now.
2 months, man.
The detectives strategically ask Ramirez the same questions in different ways, creating cognitive pressure. This technique slowly wears him down as his story becomes less consistent. Ramirez initially denied his relationship with Camille, but under repeated questioning, he admits to more details, such as their sexual encounters. This gradual incremental admission breaks down the walls of resistance and forces the suspect to concede more than he intended. By continuing to ask for specific details, like when they last saw each other, the detectives force him into a corner where the contradictions become too apparent.
So when's the last time she was at your house?
She was at my house about, I say, over a week ago.
Over a week
About
ago?
a week ago.
What was she doing there?
Coming to get high.
Coming to get high?
Yeah, man.
Y'all get high?
No. I mean, I get high and shit, but you know what I mean? It's not like you come over here just to smoke my shit, man. You know, tear your ass like you always do. Like, that's all it is. Yeah.
Damn, she was a pretty girl.
Yeah, I guess, you know what I mean? I can't really...
Oh, you can say she's a pretty girl. That's fine.
You don't think so?
What is y'all think, or what y'all...
She had beautiful eyes.
At this point in the interrogation, the detectives introduce a disruptive element, the cigarette break. This small change in environment is a calculated psychological move to break the rhythm of the interrogation. It's often used to reset the suspect's mindset and make them feel more at ease. The break can also create a moment of reflection, where the suspect's thoughts can start to unravel outside the formal setting of the interrogation room. This shift in environment makes the suspect more likely to engage in conversation, sometimes revealing more than they intended.
I don't look like she's old to you?
Yeah, it does, but I'm saying that looks like my cousin, too. It's crazy.
Alright, man.
Because I can show you a picture, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, this is what I was telling you about. And you can kind of resemble it. Yeah. You can see the resemblance. It's crazy.
Alright.
Before the cigarette break, the detectives introduce a photograph of Camille. This visual evidence has a powerful psychological impact on the suspect, forcing him to confront the victim as a real person rather than an abstract figure in the case. This is known as visual confrontation, and it can provoke an emotional response from the suspect. By making Camille's image present in the interrogation room, the detectives are strategically forcing empathy or guilt, both of which can lead to cracks in Ramirez's defense. This tactic is designed to humanize the victim and challenge the suspect's narrative, prompting a potential emotional reaction that could reveal guilt.
Like I said, man, like, if I was to sit down and then fucking explain it all to you, bro, it'd probably, like, blow your mind, and you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, seriously? Like, and I'll be like, yeah, dude, and it's like, it wasn't, you know what I mean? It's like the shit that's been after me, and, like, it comes down to the fucking money and everything, bro. It's crazy. It's fucking...
Well, you know what? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it without...
Yeah.
I guess...
It's, yeah, dude, and then it's like, you know what I mean? Like how it gets you involved and all that shit is just, it's I mean, they say the numbers don't lie, right?
They don't.
But my ID, right there.
See anything bad with Cammy? Yeah. What'd you see bad with her?
Evil, bro.
Evil? What kind of evil she have going on?
She tried killing me.
She tried killing you? Why'd she try killing you?
I don't know, but it was after.
How long ago was this?
Wow.
As the interrogation progresses, Ramirez starts to show cracks in his confident exterior. His statement that Camille tried killing him is an example of projection, a psychological defense mechanism where he projects his feelings of guilt or fear onto the victim. The detectives carefully note this admission, but they don't immediately confront it. Instead, they keep pushing gently, allowing him to talk. By acknowledging his emotional state and subtly prompting him to express more, they are attempting to induce emotional vulnerability that might lead to a confession. Ramirez, under psychological pressure, starts to say more than he intended, and this will eventually lead to his unraveling.
All right, man. You know we're going to try to... You and I talked about it when we were outside. I mean, you got the drift. We're trying to find out if you have any involvement in the way she ended up.
Right.
Us finding her like we did.
Right.
You mentioned to me that, yeah, maybe there was some involvement with how she ended up.
I said maybe some involvement, like as in, like maybe what I would know or how, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. At this point, Ramirez is beginning to feel the pressure mount. He starts to recognize that the detectives already know more than he's revealed and attempts to justify his actions. The detectives respond by methodically validating his emotions. They tell him, "We're just trying to find out what happened," and subtly give him space to confess.
I don't necessarily get the exact word, you know what I mean, what you're getting at, or...
Well, she was murdered.
Right.
Do you have any involvement in that? Okay. How were you involved in her murder?
I guess I would say we had an argument, and things wasn't going exactly her way. And like I said, I'm not the person that, you know what I mean? She comes and goes as she pleases, and whenever she came inside or whatever, she already had what she had in mind, and it seemed like I went inside of the couch and she did what she did.
Here, Ramirez finally admits to his involvement in Camille's death. The detectives handle this moment with care, responding sympathetically to him, showing concern for his well-being after the alleged altercation with the knife.
Restrain her, you know what I mean? Just to, like, you know what I mean? And I'm telling her, man, put the fucking knife down, man. Put the knife down, you know what I mean? I like, you know, and she was like, come on, motherfucker. And I'm like, what? I'm like, nah, man, just stop. Like stop, right? And she's not stopping. She's like, fucking, I don't know, man, but like, fucking arms and shit, like, start twisting and shit, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and like, she's like, bleh. And I'm like, what the fuck? Nah, man, chill. Like, hey, stop. Like, you know what I mean? Stop. Like, and she's like, just like coming at me like fucking like crazy, man. You know what I mean? It's like everything that I had, man. And like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like I couldn't no more, man. And I'm trying everything, bro. I'm trying, you know what I mean? My life. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, nah, man. You know what I mean? The something ain't real. Like, you know what I mean? And like, it was like crazy because like the way her body and shit is, like, you know, and like I'm trying to hold her down, but like, her fucking like the hips and like the back is like coming up, like lifting me up, like fucking. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, chill, man, chill. You know what I mean? And like all of it, like fucking like that knife, you know what I mean? Like come like that, man. And luckily, you know what I mean? When I had, you know, right there, man, you know, I didn't know anything else. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's fucking, you know. Yeah, I pulled the trigger.
You shot her?
Yeah.
This is a classic psychological tactic in criminal interrogations where the suspect begins to open up because they feel like the detectives are more interested in understanding the situation than accusing them outright. The detectives are giving Ramirez the opportunity to take ownership of the situation in a more controlled, less combative manner.
Dude, are you okay? Did she get you with the knife or anything? She hurt you at all?
Nah, she didn't hurt me at all or nothing, man. It's just...
I mean, literally, are you okay? If she had a knife, I need to...
Yeah, she had a knife on her, man. But like I said, when the way things happen and shit, like, I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I didn't want to tell nobody nothing and shit. And I'm like, dude, like, this shit ain't right. You know what I mean? Looking at her, I want to, like, look at her, man. You know what I mean? But like, when I did, like, her shit was like fucking, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Something is not right, dude. Something was not right. Like,
y'all been getting high or something, or what was the deal? Can you walk me back through that backstory?
I mean, as far as getting high, man, like, I hadn't seen her. I hadn't, like, that's what you don't understand. Like, I don't ever, like, when I see her, like, she just comes and just, like, you know, I could fucking even think, you know what I mean? Like, be thinking of shit and, like, just fucking crazy shit would happen and she'll just show up out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Yeah, like out of fucking nowhere, bro. And like, you know what I mean?
This approach softens the atmosphere, making Ramirez feel more comfortable and reducing his anxiety. By making the suspect feel like they are being understood and not attacked, the detectives are more likely to get fuller details about the incident that align with forensic evidence, making his story easier to dismantle later. They are not just trying to extract the confession. They're crafting an environment where Ramirez feels safe enough to share everything, including potentially damaging details.
Well, that she says, like, she was, like, fucking, I don't know, man, you know what I mean? Like, 1 minute she'll be there and then the next fucking she'll just be split gone.
That doesn't sound like a normal person.
Exactly, you know?
When did this all happen, man?
This happened, shit. It's already been a long time ago.
Like how long ago?
Like, I guess whenever y'all would say, I don't know. Probably, I don't know, days ago, I guess, whenever, I don't know. I wouldn't exactly say.
Today's Wednesday.
Probably about 3 or 4 days ago. I would say.
3 or 4 days ago?
I'd say about 3 or 4 days ago, possibly.
Okay.
4 or 5 days.
That's a long time compared to what I see on her body. I look at her body we saw yesterday, and it doesn't look like it happened 4 or 5 days ago. It looked like it happened either yesterday, probably yesterday. You think that's possible?
I don't think it was yesterday.
The detectives don't immediately confront Ramirez's narrative, but instead gradually dissect the details of his confession. They ask for specifics about the shooting, encouraging Ramirez to describe exactly what happened. By maintaining a calm, measured approach, they entrap him in the specifics of his story. Criminal psychology reveals that suspects often provide too many details in their confessions, trying to rationalize their actions, and the more they talk, the more their contradictions are exposed. By guiding him through each element of the incident, where the shooting occurred, his position, and Camille's actions, the detectives set a trap where Ramirez's inconsistencies will later come back to haunt him.
We can work on that. We'll work on that here in just a second. Let's go with you. Nobody's calling you. You're wondering what the fuck to do. You're sitting there. How did the body get out of your house, man?
I took it.
Okay.
Yes.
How did you get it out of your house?
You know what I mean? Put it in the deal and fucking.
What's the deal? I don't understand what the deal is.
In a blanket.
What kind of blanket?
Just regular wrapped up blue blanket. There was all kinds of them in there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
As Ramirez continues to provide his account, the detectives gently probe for specifics that might contradict the story. They ask him to walk them through the scene and even draw it out. This tactical questioning puts Ramirez in a position where he must provide visual details. But as he struggles to recall or describe the scene consistently, his story becomes more disjointed. The detectives are carefully noting these discrepancies, knowing that they will use them later to expose his false narrative. By pressing him for visual details, the detectives force Ramirez to think critically about his own lies, making it more difficult for him to maintain control over the version of events he's trying to create.
How many shots did you fire?
I didn't even want to fire one.
I understand.
Bro.
Just one shot?
I mean, shit. You know, man. Come on.
I do. But I'm not trying to bullshit you, Andres.
Right.
Brother, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to do anything. What I'm here to do is just get you to tell me your side of the story.
And that's the thing, though, man.
So it's one shot?
That was it.
As Ramirez continues his explanation, the detectives increasingly push his narrative to the edge. They keep asking him questions about the sequence of events, subtly introducing doubt in his mind about the consistency of his story. Criminal psychology shows that this tactic is meant to create cognitive dissonance, a mental state where Ramirez is forced to reconcile his previous statements with his current answers. The detectives press him on details that don't add up, causing psychological discomfort and forcing him to either backtrack or introduce further inconsistencies. The more they make him question his own version of events, the less he will be able to defend his actions.
Were you in front of her? Were you beside her, behind her? How was this?
Yeah, I was.
Can you stand up and show me?
I was on the side of her.
Can you stand up and show me?
Yeah.
If I'm her,
yeah.
right. Hey, this is my left side. This is my right side.
Right.
Where was she standing?
Like she was already coming
coming right here.
Yeah, she was already coming towards me. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? And so you know what I mean? Like what I did, you know what I mean? Like push it back this way. You know what I mean?
Man, go ahead, dude.
Yeah,
Just show me what you did.
You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
she was already down on the deal. You know.
Was she on the ground?
Or nah, she's standing up.
She's standing up.
Yeah, she's standing up, and she got the knife, and she's coming at me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In this phase, the detectives ask Ramirez to physically demonstrate how the altercation occurred. This is a powerful psychological tool. By having Ramirez act out the scene, they introduce a level of physical vulnerability. Criminal psychologists understand that physical demonstrations during interrogations often undermine the suspect's narrative because it forces them to play out the details they've just spoken, revealing flaws in their story. By having Ramirez reenact the moment of the shooting, the detectives force him to face his lie head-on, exposing inconsistencies between his words and his actions.
And so, I grabbed the knife like that.
Court, can you do me a favor? Yeah. Can you set this outside the room for me?
Yeah. What arm does she have the knife in? What hand?
Dude, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these cuffs off as soon as I put that. We're not going to smoke in my building, though, okay? But we'll get you back out there to smoke here in a second. Anyways.
So anyways, she's coming at me.
Hold on 1 second.
She's coming at me with the knife, you know what I mean? And
right.
you got to remember now, I'm sitting down.
Where are you sitting?
On the couch.
On the couch?
Right, there was one across it, there was one right here, you know?
Could you draw me, a picture of the room and the house that you live in? Can you draw that for me? Man, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just got to wrap my hand around.
You know I can.
I just got to wrap my head around it, okay? let's say, go right here like this, okay? And here's a Sharpie.
Alright, so look, check it out. The couch is right here. Right,
Okay.
there's another.
Where's the front door?
Right here. There's a front door right here.
At this critical point, the detectives know the confession alone is not enough. They need the details that match the forensic evidence. They start asking about Camille's body, trying to extract information about the way she was disposed of and how it was handled after the murder. They press him about how he moved the body and the specifics of how it was disposed of, knowing that this information will contradict the self-defense claim. By forcing him to explain the post-murder actions, they create another opportunity to expose the lie about the violent struggle Ramirez previously described. The detectives are using strategic pressure to ensure that Ramirez's story fully unravels when it reaches trial.
I come and I get her, I restrain her, you know what I mean? She's going crazy, and I'm telling her, hey, let go of the knife, you know what I mean? Like, there's a big...
So, she's got the knife over here, you get up and go over there.
Like, right there in the middle,
right
you know
in the
what I
middle?
mean? Yeah, like, because she's
Y'all
already...
meet in the middle, and what
she's
happens?
already up, like, you know
If
what I
I'm
mean?
her and I've got this knife,
Right.
what happens?
So I get her like this,
Uh-huh.
and then I spit her down that way,
Uh-huh.
and like I'm telling her, hey, let go of the knife, let
Uh-huh.
go of the knife,
Right.
and she's like, nah, you know what I mean? So like, and I got her like, dude, I grab the gun like that, and I tell her to fucking stop,
Mhm.
and like when she comes like that, like to the
Like this?
yeah, like that. All I could do was just, you know what I mean? That's all.
Just squeeze the trigger?
Yes, sir.
One time.
One time
And where to hit her?
in the head.
As the interrogation reaches its conclusion, the detectives begin to push back against Ramirez's emotional defenses, challenging his explanation of events. They focus on the inconsistencies between his confession and the forensic evidence. Criminal psychology shows that when suspects believe they've gained control of the conversation by confessing, they can become emotionally vulnerable, often oversharing or revealing their true feelings. The detectives carefully monitor these emotions, using empathic confrontation to encourage Ramirez to admit more, while also noting how his emotional state can be manipulated to reveal the truth. Andres Ramirez was convicted of first-degree murder for the killing of Camille Garcia, a 27-year-old woman. The evidence pointed to an execution-style killing, not a chaotic struggle, as he described. Prosecutors used Ramirez's own confession and the forensic evidence against him, leading to his conviction. Ramirez was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.